Hey everybody, welcome to the weekly WP Roundup with BJ. I'm BJ, and every week we get together on Friday to talk about all of the news and tutorials and resources and pretty much anything else that was put out, this week about WordPress. So if you're new to the show or if you're tuning back in, feel free to throw anything that you have a question about in the comments. Feel free to help anybody out who has anything in the comments. And all of the links that we're going to be going over are in the description of this video. So make sure that you check all of those out. There is a long list of them in there. And make sure that you do that so that you can give some of the content creators who are making this stuff a little bit of love, because if it wasn't for them, we couldn't get together and do this every Friday afternoon. So I'm just going to check the health of the stream just a second before we get started a little bit, and I'm seeing that it's running good everywhere. I'm seeing a hello to a bunch of the people on Facebook. I'm seeing a lot of my friends joining in, and I see hello from Tennessee from Abigail. Hi, how are you doing? Not that far away down here in thunderstormy Alabama today. Hopefully it's a little bit better north of here. So hopefully as everybody comes in, settles in, we'll get some conversation going. I try to keep up with all of the comments. I'll probably get distracted a little bit by reading it, but if you can forgive me on that one, we'll hopefully have a really good conversation about everything. So in news today, I have some stuff that I wanted to talk about in the news. Like, it's not a big news week. There was nothing like major release, like Gutenberg didn't suddenly drop out of the sky and everyone has to use it now. But the first major thing that I really did want to talk about and point out is Elegant Themes. We put out the, what did they call it? Extended styles. For some reason, I can't remember that. Anytime I've gone over this over the last little bit. The extend styles option in the builder. And this is something that is going to make my life so much easier. And if it makes my life easier, then I can't even imagine how much easier it makes all of y'all's life. What it is you're able to select a single style, like a font or a color or whatever it is, and you can extend one style to everything else on the page that you want to. So like the example that's on the article here is that you select something and apply it to all of the blurbs, or everything in this column you will have done in this color or this font with a particular border size. Like, you can apply those styles into everything, that if you want all of it to be styled the exact same way. It's fantastic. It's going to make just everything so much easier. Yeah, Abigail, it's going to be mind-blowing once we all really get the hang of using it. The animated GIF that they show in the article, I say they, I'm not sure why it's a we thing, right? Because I didn't write this article. The animated GIF that they show is putting a border and changing the font size and different kinds of button styling in a module, and then just by hitting extend styles, everything else can get that same styling, including border, button, whatever. It's going to be amazing to actually use. This is one that I haven't been able to put in production yet on a site and actually get the full use out of it. But when I saw that was being released, I was like, my stream guys are going to really enjoy this one, that it's really, really, really useful. It's a quality of life update. I know you guys, it's not a header or footer update, so I know somebody out in the audience is thinking about that, but I know it's not that. But this is a quality of life update that is really going to make our quality of lives as Divi designers much, much, much better. Excuse me, I was working with a friend the other day on it, and exactly that happened. In order to save some time to move stuff, I was having to copy and paste and save things to a library just so I could load a module in to copy the styles and then paste the style into another one to get it to match on two different pages. And just not having to do that kind of thing anymore is insane and just wonderful. So thank you to the dev team and everyone who put that together, because that's awesome. I'm glad to see that you guys are excited about it too. Louise on Facebook, it is. And just, yeah, everybody, it's going to be great. Third of all, I know it's the second one, but I want to jump down to the third thing under the news section because it's kind of time sensitive. For the next 2 days, this is September 7th, so through Sunday, September 9th, SiteGround is running a major sale for Labor Day in the U.S. There was a holiday this week called Labor Day, and there's always a lot of sales. And one of the things that SiteGround is doing is giving a major, like 70% off on a lot of their hosting. So go check that out if you've been looking at changing hosts and see if SiteGround is for you. This is not about any reason. This is not by any means a shout out about SiteGround. I just know that a lot of you guys have used that and mentioned it in the past, and I got distracted by a comment, and have mentioned that in the past, so that if you're looking to move, it might be something that you guys want. And I see that Goshen Web, that Mac and I are streaming at the same time. Is it... Now, I thought I'd fix that. I was going to actually have to apologize to Mac because in the thing, there was the restream that we used, there was one that I didn't notice was him, but I'd stopped it and then started this one back up, and I messed up. Goshen, is that still going? Because, oh my goodness, I'm going to be... Mac's going to kill me to do that. Oh, no. That's terrible. Restream, no. Is it? No. Okay, I think it's not showing live on his anymore. I think it may have, and he'll have to go in and delete that, and I'll have to buy him dinner whenever we meet. I don't think, at least. I'm gonna breathe a little bit on that one. I hate that. But choose me, you guys, for like Goshen, who said you have to choose between Mac and me. Choose me right now. This is the official one where I'm supposed to be on the Elegant Themes page. If it's on Mac's page, like I said, severely. I stutter when I get nervous. So I'm so sorry about that. But thank you for pointing that out. I'll make sure to talk to him. I thought I'd stopped it before it got there. But I see that Abigail and Michael on YouTube in the comments have said, you know, SiteGround is great, that they use it. It's one that I use right now. So it's something that I've had good luck with. And when I saw that they had such a massive sale, I wanted to put it out there for you guys to take a look at. Because that's a really good deal on hosting in general. And then the very last thing that I had on here, but the last one I'm going to talk about, is that WordFence this week apparently gave some users a warning that Divi Booster, a very popular Divi plugin, is malware, and it's not. They posted an explanation at divibooster.com, I'm sorry, talking about what it is, and just it's linked to in there. It's a piece of software that they use, a script that they use that is absolutely not in any means malware. It's just a script that checks for what browser you're using and things like that. It's very, very, very safe. I didn't get that email from WordFence, so I'm very happy about that, because I use Divi Booster on a few sites because it adds a little functionality that I want, and I know a lot of you guys use it as well. So if you get it, don't worry about it. If you get WordFence telling you that it's malware, it's not. And you can check out the details under the news section on this. But when I saw that one, I was like, oh no, that's gonna cause a lot of headaches. And so I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware that what it says, that there doesn't even need to be a fix for it, that it is just one of the times where it registers as something that it's not. And then I see Goshen Web saying there's a lot of uproar on SiteGround, on YouTube comments, excuse me, about SiteGround pricing policy. Customers whose initial first-year subscription is up for renewal are getting astronomical price hike. I do know that there's a bit of a hike that I'm going to be in for. That was something that I paid annually last year, and I think it's October that mine's coming up. and I know that it's going to be slightly over double this year for what it is. I've gotten really good service out of it for what I've done, and it's more than paid for itself that way. But I do completely understand, and the only reason that I found that out, Michael, or Goshen Web, was because of like reading around on it. I happened to just see it that it wasn't going to renew at that, but it is you can get caught by it, because I think it is going to be a big surprise to people. Thank you for bringing that up, because it will. I think I go from like 79 to around 219 or something like that. So it does happen. But it's Abigail says they let you know when you sign up how much it'll be when it renews. But just even though that, and they do, I didn't pay attention to it when they said it as I was signing up. I know a lot of people don't. So it's still something that that if you get a good year out of it and then need to switch, that's something. At least I may have done that a couple of times as well. I see. But yeah, I realize you're just calling out the people need to be aware of it, Goshen Web. No, I realize that's not a knock at SiteGround. It's but people do get up in arms about stuff like that, so I really do appreciate you calling that out, because next year, whenever it renewed for someone who maybe got it this weekend, they would be flipping out, because that kind of thing is scary when it comes through. I've had that happen at other companies, not necessarily other hosts, but I've had that happen where I'm like, why did this go up so much? So also got caught by HelloFresh last week, and we have apparently some dinner coming in tonight because we didn't realize that it had gone through. So I get caught by things like that all the time. So a lot of people are like me, I think. But the very last thing that I had under news is actually not news, but it's something that I just wanted to make sure that I got to. I put it high on the list of links for you today. It's the second one. It says the secret to learning. My speech impediment from when I'm a child is coming back. The secret to learning WordPress development is people. And WP Shout has a long article, you guys, on what... like, it's an editorial, and they go through like what all it takes, the stages of learning WordPress and learning development and really just becoming a part of this ecosystem. And I read through this and I loved it, because the final takeaway, like the overall theme that they're going for, is that learning WordPress, to really dig in and learn this software, is fairly hard. That they started it out, it was the way they said, let me see if I can find the actual quote. Man, I had it marked and now I don't. Where basically you jump into WordPress and you get really overwhelmed. And it's not because it's overly hard, but because there's so much that that once you figure out how to break all of it down, it's all these pieces that fit together and they work together wonderfully. But until then, it is terribly overwhelming on what you can do, what you have to change, where you click to do what, that it can be really, really insane. I see on YouTube that Christopher St. Germain said, I was totally crushed by WP until I got Divi, and it happens. I was working on a site with a friend last week, and I'd mentioned this last week, I put them on Gutenberg as opposed to the current builder, because it was less threatening to them, for him to see how everything worked together. And that's what it's talking about in this, is that initial crushing that you talk about, Christopher, is very, very common. That people are like that a lot. Like, I've been working in WordPress for 10 years, and I just hit my 1 year at Elegant Themes. So, I mean, as a hobbyist for, 8 to 9 years, and I don't remember it being scary because it's so long ago, but I remember Googling and looking stuff up and just asking people, because I had absolutely no idea how to do anything on there. Like, that fear and that kind of trepidation of it's gone, but I still remember having to look everything up. And so that's what it's talking about, that kind of thing. And they're going in and talking about how important you guys are. And that's why I really wanted to put this high up and talk about it, because I really wanted to give you guys a lot of kudos here, because it's you who make WordPress what it is. That if it wasn't for people who will come in and watch a stream about WordPress and articles about it, this software wouldn't be at the place that it is, where we can all make our livings on it. That you guys come together and you help each other out. You teach people. A lot of you guys are producing content out there where you're putting out tutorials and all sorts of blogs and just different products that make other users' lives easier. And that's what this is talking about, that when you get discouraged, there's always somebody out there who can really help you, and that there are a lot of places to make that happen. And it's something that I think that a lot of us may take for granted at this point. It's taken that we all take that for granted, and that they're talking about we're all WordPress learners, and that we can really help people. And why he says that people are the future, or the secret to WordPress development, is that he says nothing's as efficient as live human-to-human learning. And that's really true, that whether or not you're doing it, and he says live human to human, and I take that to be like people who are living in my mind, because I didn't do a lot of it in person, some, but not all. But I've watched tons of videos when I was learning how to do stuff. There's a lot on YouTube, there's a lot on Udemy, and not SiteGround, can't remember the tutorial site that I use. I have a bunch of courses on, but stuff like that really helps, that you have somebody else explaining that this is a problem. And like I said, this is just something that people can take a minute to answer a question. That I know that people have had their problem solved in this chat, and I'm pointing at the chat window on my screen. I realize that you guys don't know that, what I'm pointing at, but you folks are the ones who are helping people, and I know that people have had their problems solved in this and taught how to do stuff. So I just wanted to thank you and point this particular article out to you, because it really is very interesting as far as an editorial goes. And in terms of, putting it under the news, it's just something I think that we can all take a shot at, take a chance of looking at, and really take this opportunity to appreciate the people around us. Because if it wasn't for the fantastic community that there is, that none of us would be able to sit right here and do it. So I want to thank you for showing up, and thank you for, I guess, showing up, because it's the reason that I'm able to do this and you're able to do this. So I see that there are some comments on here. I see that Michael was talking about, Michael Dennison on YouTube was talking about SiteGround, and said that his went to $225 a month, or a year, excuse me, for SiteGround, and it's worth it with their help. I've had really good luck with their help as well. That's something that happened to me. Was getting their help, and it solved like that. That was worth it. You wish that Divi supported more third-party plugins. As weird as it sounds, I think there are some third-party plugins out there to help support some of the third-party plugins. If there's anything in particular, that you're looking for support on, let us know. Throw it in the support forums or the live chat or something. Because we're always looking for things like that. I don't know how often it would be, put in, but some of them we do. I know there's not a lot of it going on sometimes, but I know that that's something that we do look for, whether or not we can move on or act on it pretty quickly. And I see Michael Salem says he's in the market for a new office chair. Is this an AK Racing chair? You've been considering one. This is not an official AK Racing chair. This is an off-brand one from Amazon. I didn't want to pay the price on an AK Racing chair. That this one was, I don't remember which one it was, but it was about $100. It reclines and has a footstool at the bottom of it, and it's very much worth the price that I paid for it. I'm not sure how the more expensive ones are, the branded ones like AK Racing are, but the one I got, whose name I don't even see on the on the chair right here where I'm sitting and can look, but it's a very good chair, and I like it a lot better than the last office chair that I had. This is also a good place that, as I've put it before, I don't know to you guys, but I've talked about I had a really tough summer this summer, and sometimes I just had to take a really quick nap when I got overwhelmed by stuff. This one's a really good one for that, with the footrest and the reclining all the way back. So if you need to take a stress nap in the afternoon, this is a good choice for you. It was on Amazon, and it was one of the best sellers on there. I was just looking at reviews on that, and I read it, and it was like, it's a good one, and I've really enjoyed it so far. But as far as racing chairs go, super comfy. Way better than the regular old office chair I had. And I see that Michael Dennison was looking, and they told you to contact the developer. A lot of times, that may be what happens, yeah, because we opened up in 3.1, Divi 3.1, a lot of developer hooks to be able to work in on it that we can do. That we can, so they can update things like that as we move forward. You're right. Sorry about that. And then I see Unforced Rhythms says that WordPress meetups are awesome. They're awesome to network and learn about what others are doing in WordPress, and that you would encourage everyone to go and find a WordPress meetup. Yes, they are fantastic. WordCamps, WordPress meetups. There are a lot of official meetups that they do now. There are some Divi Nation meetups that are around that we're even getting a bigger bigger network of Divi Nation meetups soon. And they're on meetup.com. A lot of them are. You can really just look at meetup.com and search for Divi or Divi Nation or WordPress, and they will show up around you. I am almost certain. I may have found one just under coding is how I found some like that. So that's a very easy way to find them, because pretty much every city and even every town, like I'm in a town, my entire county where I live has maybe like 60,000 people in it. And we have, I think, 3 different coding meetups, and then Huntsville is to the east of us and has tons too. So that's something to think about. I bet you guys have stuff like that around too. I see that, I can't pronounce that. Take Tim, I'm gonna call you Tim. Ask when is Divi gonna add the YouTube icon to the footer and the Instagram icon. I know you can add it in custom code, but I want it built into the theme. I think a lot of us want that built into the theme. That's something that I know is on the list of things, Tim. And I see that I know that when I mentioned Divi Booster earlier in the channel, earlier in the stream, that's actually one of the things that Divi Booster does that I use it for, is to add the Instagram icon in the footer. Like I said, I know that's on the list of things to get to, but I don't know when that'll come through, and I think sometimes priorities are given to projects and I guess projects and features, I guess is the better way to put it, that one of the prominent Divi plugins doesn't do. So I know with that one, I know you can do with that one, and it fixes a couple of things that I've used around too. It was worth the money for me to grab, so maybe that one may be an option for you to do if you don't like adding in the custom code to put it in there. But it is on the list. I do know that they're aware of it and wanted to put it in, and just moving through the list of priorities. And I see also that Goshen Web had a bad experience using Divi with the Oxygen builder this week. Reported the issue to Divi support and both Oxygen support, and you didn't like the Divi response. Okay. The issue was that Divi throws an error when Oxygen is activated, and the issue was the way that Oxygen disables any WordPress theme that, which the Divi builder doesn't like. I haven't used Oxygen on Divi. Like, that's something, I've used it on Astra, is the one I actually used it on to play with. That's, if they know about it, let me know what they said, what they say. Oh, we got a dog hair on my microphone. Let me know what they said on that one, what they say. Sometimes stuff like that ends up getting fixed, and to make sure that things like that don't break with people using multiples. I actually had it kind of break the other day when I was using Gutenberg back and forth with the Divi, Gutenberg, and the classic editor plugin didn't play nice together. It took some finagling to get that done, but I hate that for you. I'm sorry. I like Oxygen as well. I like mixing and matching a lot of stuff myself. And yeah, sorry, Tim. It's been a few years on that. It's been a year for me doing that. Oh, and it's with the site header and site footer, Goshen. Okay, I got you. Um, I would assume that that is not going to be fixed anytime soon on our end. And I say that because of the header and footer stuff coming in on Divi that's being worked on very heavily right now. Don't get me wrong, I have no idea when it's coming out, but I know it is like one of the projects that is consistently being worked on a daily basis, and so that's something that I wouldn't doubt that they're not going to push that hard on that. I don't know. There are a lot of balls in the air getting juggled. So that's one. Oh, that one's frustrating, I know. I'm sorry. I really am sorry about that. So for those of you who have just tuned in, this is the weekly WordPress Roundup, WP Roundup with BJ. I'm BJ, and the news went over, and we've been talking about it for the last little bit about the new extend styles plugin feature that we have with Divi, the SiteGround sale. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word sale for a second. My brain just stopped. That we've talked about the community on WordPress being so major to its success, and then the word fence warning that Divi Booster gave is a false positive. So don't worry about that. I see that. And so we're about to move into the tutorials for the stuff that I was able to find this week for tutorials that really can help boost your business. And I see a couple of comments I want to respond to first, saying that that Goshen Web said there's a temporary fix, but anytime you update Divi, you have to keep applying the fix for the Oxygen Builder. That is annoying. Is it possible, and I don't know because I don't know the issue and I don't know the fix, is it possible to do that in a child theme where you don't have to do that when you update Divi? If you're able to run it in just a child theme for that alone, maybe? Because if so, that would be awesome. Excuse me, but it may not be actually possible depending on the way the fix works. And I see that. Oh, and thank you. I'm glad, Tim, that it makes your life and job a million times easier. I'm glad. Like, I love it as well. But I mean, I understand there's a way to do. Oh, Oxygen disables all themes. Oh, I did not know it worked that way. That was one I probably should go back into the back end and look at what it did. I apparently didn't dig far enough in that when cursory stuff that I've installed. So I guess I didn't. I may have activated Astra, but I did not use Astra apparently. So I need to look at that. So in the tutorial section, the tutorials I found this week were the very first one that I thought was neat. I'm not even going to cover it, but they talk about how to add, Flywheel added this article this week, how to add CSS variables to customizable WordPress child themes, which is something that I think everyone needs to know how to do, of just straight up adding the variables, adding the stuff that you want to change all the time, like where you can change all of it all at once by using CSS variables. And if you don't use CSS variables, check it out. Like, you can really do a lot with with roots and gutters, and like it says warning and warning text with a variable of just warning text, where you can change that as a color to have one that you use all the time as warning text, just stuff like that. Look into it because it's great. Like being able to say color warning text or var warning text, however you use it, is much easier than constantly remembering all of the so you have to remember all of the different hex codes. Or if you're like me, you keep one like a color palette open in another tab and then use a color picker every time you need something new, which is a very inefficient way to work, and don't be like me. So use these variables that tutorials that the Flywheel people talk about. They also Divi, man, Divi did it, but Donyetta did it with Divi. Posted a how to horizontally overwrap row borders with Divi. And again, this one just looks really cool. It's able to show different rows, basically overlapping that if my finger is the border, that they do like that, where you're able to make things move around a little bit easier and fit a little bit better, where they're not just bumping up against each other. She walks through, there's a video that Mac does with it, and it's just pretty. Donyetta's designs are always out of this world, and so I wanted to point that one out too, because it's a very, very elegant design that she's put up with, or come up with, for the rest of us. And so I thought that one was something that you guys may want to check out. Additionally, there's a Code Newbie podcast that is in my queue of things to listen to, but I wanted to make sure that you guys knew about it. Again, it's Code Newbies is a great podcast. It's a great community of people that I've been in really since I have started freelancing and got into web development on its own instead of academics. And this one is about how to figure out what's next in your coding career. And I love the Code Newbie podcast for articles like this, where it doesn't tell you what to do. It doesn't tell you, if you're a UX designer, then you need to do this, 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 and this. But it talks about people's stories and how they've done things, where you can figure out, that Jarvis Johnson is an engineering manager at Patreon, and it talks about him moving from the engineer to the engineering manager, and just how really to move forward and figure out how to figure out what you might want to apply to your own life and move in your career, like in different directions. It's these kind of abstract how-tos and tutorials that I really like, because what works for you isn't going to work for me, and what works for Jarvis isn't going to work for you, but the ideas are there on looking at why you're doing certain things the way you are to move forward. It's a really good community podcast, and I really can't wait to get into listening to that one. I've read through the notes, but it's not the same. So you guys will absolutely like that one. And then Yoast, y'all know I can't do a show without having Yoast. Yoast has an article on here on how to use video testimonials, and this is something I'm seeing more and more and more of that really, really work. We have video testimonials on our site. If you go and look through, that Yoast talks about that you can't add them, and that's how they're best used. You can't just put them on a page and it's like, okay, they're on there, everyone knows that I'm awesome now. That doesn't work. That take them when people who have recorded them and have them share it to their audience, kind of like if they're guesting on your podcast, get them to promote that episode, those kinds of things. And it talks about where to host them, and how that you can use SEO to get those particular testimonials to rank in YouTube searches and stuff like that, where you could even make a blog post out of it. And just how you do it is a little different from how you would do a normal piece of your content, but they're very useful because it's not you promoting your own content. So it's very interesting to look at and think that I love video testimonials, and they give some good ideas on how to do it, how to use them. So y'all should definitely look into getting some video testimonials from your biggest fans. And then near the bottom of the tutorials, there weren't as many tutorials this week as I've had in past weeks, but the last one that I actually want to talk about is how to use iTheme security to enforce strong passwords. And something that everyone here needs to worry about is how strong your passwords are, how strong your users' passwords are, and your staff and everything. Everyone who uses your site needs to have a strong password. And I say that in an abstract sense, not in a, you have to have a capital letter, a lowercase letter, a symbol, 18 numbers, however it is. I say that, and you just need to have your password be something that's not password 123 and or admin 111, something like that. It's terrible. Don't do that. But anytime you have a strong password, it's going to make the brute force attacks that are, I mean, they're everywhere with WordPress these days, especially on new installations, that if you ever make new installations and you don't put a firewall on it, it's going to get hacked. Somebody's going to get in almost certainly, especially if you just use a generic password. And so the iTheme security plugin has an enforce strong password. I got distracted because my dog just chased my cat across the room when they were both sleeping like 5 minutes ago. And but the enforced strong passwords is something we need to think about. And one of the things I wanted to make sure that I pointed out on this, because I couldn't find the link for it today, but think about what you consider a strong password. That sometimes the guy who came up with the idea of strong passwords back in, I want to say it was the 90s that he came up with it. He says that it's not actually the safest way to do because of all the rules and stuff that the bots tend to just go through them, that they know how to search for that. So while they're better than nothing, it's not as though they're like unhackable. So he was actually talking about in the article that I found of using passphrases and using spaces and full words that don't go together, so that you could just write entire sentences out. And that's actually something that I've taken to doing on things that need really good security on it. Rather than a series of random characters, I will have entire passphrases that you can type in, because a space is a character that you can use in most passwords. And if they allow it, then I absolutely say take advantage of that on making sure that you have, some of my passwords are this long, but they don't take any time at all to type in, because it's actually an entire sentence that there's no way people would be able to think of. So just the idea of that, I wanted to put out there, more than just the, using this plugin, using WP Shout's idea here of using iThemes to enforce that. Just get the idea of making sure that you enforce strong passwords somehow in your world, really, that it doesn't have to be on your site, but it may be for your LastPass vault or whatever it is that you're doing. Just think about that as something that you really take advantage of it, but that you really just keep in the forefront of your mind at all times, because that's one of the best ways for security, And then the very last thing on here, I said I wasn't going to do it, but I guess I will. The ways to strengthen your WordPress brand with your blog. Like, I'm a blogger. I mean, so I see content and storytelling and stuff like this, and so I have to share it and I have to talk about it. And it's, this one is actually about knowing your story. Storytelling is becoming huge, and in pretty much every kind of marketing, and you guys are, I'm sure that you're aware of it. I'm sure that you're doing it in telling and crafting stories for businesses and people and brands and products that nobody just wants to buy. Well, here's an orange cup. You can drink out of it. $18. Nobody wants to do that. But if I were to tell you, that this was an ancient artifact from the very first Southern Fried Festival, and that it was the last festival that me and my old family dog were able to go to together, and it would mean a lot. Like, this has such sentimental value, and that I was able to give that dog his very last drink out of this cup, and but now I need to sell it, so $150. And that kind of thing makes something a little more meaningful in terms of selling and marketing, and that, and kind of creating that connection to something people want to buy. Also, this is not a cup that any dog has ever drinking out of. Well, I can't say that. She might have drunk out of it, but it wasn't like the last thing. My wife won this in a raffle at some conference that she went to, and I just like it. So don't think that was really morbid or anything like that, but it was just an example. Totally innocuous glass. It just happens to be here. But those are the kinds of stories that you could tell with on your blog that would make people buy stuff. There are actually businesses out there who do write stuff up like that for every single product that they have, and generally they're fictional. Generally they're just these ridiculous out there stories, and people buy them and go look at the products because of that, and sometimes they actually buy the products. So storytelling is a major way to get business. And even my wife was doing social media marketing. That's what she does, is social media marketing for the library she works at. And she was telling me that some of their best engagement, this is Library Card Month, National Library Card Month is September, so go get a library card, y'all. And that one of the best things that she's found is that the more personal her posts are, about children getting their library cards for the very first time, or people who have been patrons of this library for 40 years and are still coming in every week and checking out and still have their old library card from way back with them, or put up somewhere they know about. Those are the stories that are getting the most engagement. Not posting about individual books or programs, but telling what kind of place it really is, as opposed to what kinds of things that place does. And it's very interesting to think that we as an internet, as a culture, as a society, are really looking at stories as being what differentiates where we spend our money. But it is. We definitely are. And so this article goes through stuff like that on making sure that you analyze your current online presence. Are you just shouting into the night? Well, if you are, and I'm guilty of that on at least one of my platforms, think about how you can tell stories there, that you can take your tweets and just, 280 characters may not seem like a lot, but you can thread if you have to, but you can say some really interesting things in 280 characters that are a lot more than sharing the title of your blog. And so you can really start interacting with people that way. It talks about social media integration, using real email addresses. That's something that I did not realize how important it was in terms of strengthening a brand, but making sure that you don't use a Gmail account. Don't use a Ymail account. If somebody is, if you're giving out your email, do not give them captainbobo@hotmail.com, which was my very first email address ever, y'all. captainbobo@hotmail.com. I don't think it still exists anywhere anymore, but I sure can't log in if it does. But you don't want to give a professional conference. Even BJ Keeton at gmail.com is not anywhere near as impressive as marketing at bjkeeton.com, or admin at geekfitness.net, or like it says on here, Brian Matthews at mapmatters.com. Whatever it is, use a real email address. Please. They do not cost much. Most of the time you get just an alias with your hosting account. All I do is forward mine to my Gmail, respond through that, and have it comes through and sends as my, BJ at Elegant Themes email. So you can still use Gmail as a service. I do. All of it. It's great. Just make sure that you give that to them, and that, it tells your story more. Gmail tells me that you didn't go take the time to go set up another email account. But if you give me, Judy Piggott at judyjudy.com, that's something that will definitely get my attention and tell me more about your business, especially if it's something like, Creative Monkey Man at creativemonkeys.com. If that's your thing and that's your business, that's how you do it, because even then your name may be too bland for what you're selling. So just think about how you tell the story of your business. It doesn't have to be actually telling the story. It could be how you present your business. That you could do it. An email address with Gmail may tell more about your business than you think. So So really look through those on how to strengthen the WordPress brand with your blog. And like I said, it can simply be as little as an email address, or sharing a picture of someone instead of something. So, that was what I'd found in tutorials this week. Hopefully there will be something in there that y'all can figure out, and well, I say figure out, but more than that, I hope that there's something in there that you can take and use in your life this coming week, and maybe make your week in WordPress just a little bit better. And so moving into the resources, excuse me, Yoast had another article. This was a really good one just to think about. Are content blocks good for the future? How do they affect SEO? Like, we've been using blocks for a long time as Divi users, because that's what content modules are. I mean, our text modules are the same thing as a Gutenberg block. I mean, that's what it is. It's a block that you put things in, you move it around. Like, it's the same concept here. I mean, they say it's like building a page with Legos, and they're talking about the way that you can structure data with them, and actually being a very, very useful thing. That you can have a Q&A section. That you can have a Q&A section and have a Q&A block, and then Google will see that and maybe be able to get you a rich card at the top, as opposed to being like 4th or 5th on the list. That's important that you can do stuff like that. Schema.org has a lot of stuff on there like that. If you're not using Schema's structure, definitely check it out. A lot of, like, WooCommerce uses them for products. They're on there for blog posts that most everyone, we use that, how-tos, Q&As. But those kind of things SEO works and matters with. I see a comment on YouTube. Do you know if there's a layout in progress or on the list for a basketball club? I think so, Bianca. I'll hop on there and look right quick, though. No sense in not. I like doing that. That's something that actually makes me really happy to do while I'm on the stream, to see what people want. I think we have different sports stuff on there. Let's see. Travel, shop, entertainment. I do not see that, so I will throw it on there under. What does that go under? I gotta find which one it goes under, Bianca. You did this to me. That's gonna go under entertainment. I put a basketball or sports team. So so that one. Be able to see if there's anything on there. So that's a good idea to have that, especially for like little league stuff. I know that kids especially love being able to have their pictures on websites and things like that for their leagues. And also there was an article that I went back through and updated. I know Matt did an article on it, did a video on it recently that you can check out on our YouTube channel here, of some of the worst web design ever. And one of them is this old basketball club that they've done, and it is just hideous what they've done to this website. It's just like, it takes brutalism and takes out like design aspect of it, and it's just brutal. And that's what it reminds me when I say basketball club. Some of the ones at the school I used to teach at are not the best sports club sites that I've ever seen, and so I think that that's a really good idea. So thank you Bianca. So yeah, really appreciate that. Also on the Elegant Themes blog this week, I can't remember who did it, actually. I clicked into it, read it, loved it. It was John Hughes did a look at Ghost 2.0. Have you guys ever used Ghost? It's a very, very, very cool blogging software. Last year at about this time, they released Ghost 1.0. Like, they fully released Ghost. It had been a crowdfunded open source project that was basically built to take on WordPress. That it is a CMS. Well, it's a publishing CMS where its focus is on publishing. And excuse me, the software, I say take on WordPress, but I shouldn't say that like they're putting out a direct competitor. They wanted to take what WordPress does and they wanted to do it better in terms of publishing blog posts and actual written content and created content online. And you can install it right now. You can download it for free. And John Hughes has broken down what Ghost 2.0 brings, and it looks great. I'm going to install this soon and play around with it. It's not going to take me away from WordPress, and more than anything, the reason why not is because I work in WordPress, so that would be kind of self-defeating. But I do have a friend who uses Blogger instead of WordPress because when he worked in WordPress, it was like going home and working more when he was doing his hobby. But Ghost is neat. It's something that I think that y'all may get interested in. I did a look at Ghost 1.0 last year and how cool it was. I really, really like it. And it's actually the first link in this article. But now Ghost 2.0's out. It's really neat. Like, it is kind of Gutenberg-esque. They've built it around blocks and embeds and specific ways to put specific content where you want. And it's just a good editor. Like, more than anything else, the Ghost editor is fantastic to use. At the time, I wanted to continue writing my everyday work in Ghost and then putting it in WordPress, but it didn't do some of the formatting that I wanted. And from what John says in this article, it does now. So it might be a word processor, an actual draft software that I can use, like I did with Ulysses or Bear, which are also two fantastic options for going and writing online when you're not, or writing offline actually when you're not in the WordPress dashboard. Ghost is one of the nicest writing experiences I've had. I actually ended up liking it better than Scrivener, if you've ever used it. I drafted lots of novels in Scrivener, and I think I like writing in Ghost better than it. So, I mean, that's high praise. So, check it out. I don't think you'll be moving from WordPress, given, how ingrained in it you are, but I think it's a good option to have on the side if you have a client, or, a hobby of your own, and just want to do the publishing side of it, that you put out a really clean, really nice, really quick, really easy blog with Ghost. It's cool. I like it. And then WP Mayer put out an article that I thought was neat. I loved this one. It actually is talking about Gutenberg failing hard, and should we be worried? That was one idea that I think some of us have talked about a lot on. Should we be worried that Gutenberg is getting such terrible reviews and they're barreling forward with it anyway? I'd mentioned last week that people were talking about forking WordPress, and that there would basically be the two versions of WordPress, not even the LTS that kept on going, but public versions of WordPress that take the open source software and then move off to the side with it being a completely separate piece of software that's not related to WordPress. Well, they did it. Gary Pendergast created one called Classic Press. I will not use it. I mean, I'm the kind of guy who, like I said, my job is on WordPress, so that's where I am. It's something that I'm going to try, though. I mean, it's Classic Press is basically it's classicpress.net. It is WordPress as it is now. That's all it is. It's not anything special. It's not anything that's great. I mean, and it's great. I shouldn't say that it's not great. It's not anything to write home about. It's WordPress. We love it. But it's WordPress. It doesn't have Gutenberg, though. That's the big thing. They're not putting Gutenberg at all. He says version 1, this is what the Classic Press site says. Version 1 of Classic Press will be a Gutenberg-free experience of WordPress, compatible with your existing site. Version 2 will be community-led. Features will be brought up and voted for by the community. If you've always wanted to say but felt your voice was never heard, now's your chance to make Classic Press your CMS. It's something to think about. It will depend. I mean, we have no idea how this particular CMS will go. We have no idea how long it will last, but it could catch on. Gutenberg has been divisive, and if it fails, if we hate where it goes, somebody took the initiative and did this, and it looks good so far. It's something that I think y'all should check into. Look at it at the very least. And the WP Mayor article is about more than that. Just talking about, what Gutenberg is doing to WordPress, what the community is and says. And it's a good read, I guess is the best way to put it. Like the resources, I always say these are the things that I would tweet and be like, hey guys, look at this. That's kind of what this one is. Like, hey guys, look at this. Hi Steve, hi Karam. Karam, sorry, I'm probably mispronouncing your name. On Facebook said hello. I see Bianca was creating a site for a basketball club, and it's like, oh, you're sneaky. I see what you did there. But if you're doing it, 100 other people are at least. I know that Isom had mentioned to me a while back that we needed to get an automotive sale. And hey, Isom! Isom said that need to get an automotive sales website out there, and not long after that, that layout pack actually was released. So if one person needs it, a lot of people need it. So thanks for that. Thanks for that. I love getting those ideas in there. And then one of the things that Collective Ray put out an article on WordPress.org versus WordPress.com. Which one is right for you or your clients? And what it does is it goes through like what the differences are in them, but really it makes you look at the ideas behind what you use WordPress for. So sometimes WordPress.com is a viable option for clients. And it's because of the way that it handles everything. The Calypso backend may be easier for them to understand. The lack of options might be easier for them than having everything at their disposal, especially if they're not paying for a maintenance contract. If they want one of the business plans, it's like $10 a month. They get access to a lot of the same stuff that hosting plans do. That we have, but it's maintained there. It's just something to think about, that if you've never thought about using WordPress.com with your clients, you can still do that with regular old regular old URLs without the WordPress.com on there. So yeah, Isom, that was perfect. I saved your name. You're like, hello, and I'm like, well. That's all. It was awesome. Like you couldn't have done it any better. So yeah, moving forward just a little bit, just little things throughout the rest of this, because I am actually out of time and did not realize it. That I'm gonna throw these out there so that you can go read them. WP the podcast, which is great, did an episode on why you should brand the back end of WordPress, why you should custom brand it for your clients. Code in WP has a great article on will Gutenberg replace page builders like Divi, Elementor, and Beaver Builder. They say at the beginning that probably they will take some of our more casual users, and especially initially, and I think they're right. But one of the things that when they talk about that, with that idea in mind, is that once they outgrow whatever is in base WordPress, that's when they're going to come to us. That's when I say us, as in us as a Divi community here, us as a page builder community, and designers and developers, they're going to outgrow that and need something more. That's when they come to us. I think we're going to end up getting more business out of it than we would before, because it's going to bring more people to WordPress in general. So I think there's a lot of good that can come from this. They have 5 ways to use .htaccess to improve your site. Read that. That's something I have to take to heart. I hate messing with htaccess. And then Randy Brown did an article on Elegant Themes this week on WordPress versus other CMS platforms like Drupal and Joomla, to see, once again, what works better for each of them. What are the strengths that each of these have? I know that there are a lot of people who still, they love their Drupal. That people who are all about Drupal. I can't remember the name of the official DrupalCon. Maybe it's DrupalCon or DrewCon, or I don't remember, but people are intense about it, and they love it. And I've never touched Drupal, so I can't say. But Randy broke it down pretty easily, pretty well. And then the very last thing on there, and I think that this doesn't apply to everybody, and I saved it to the very, very, very end, the very bottom of the description, because of this. If we, well, let me start this way. We talked last week about being able to use the REST API as a backend for your apps, that you are able to design maybe in Swift or Java or React Native, the app itself, and then use WordPress using the REST API as a database, as the actual backend servers for your app. And it's a great idea. It's fantastic. I think it was apppress.com that someone had mentioned. And this one is just about preparing your app for iOS 12 notifications. That when iOS 12 launches, and maybe it already has, I don't have iOS right now, getting the new notifications are going to be really cool for your app, that they're going to have a lot more interaction with users than they currently do, like more than just swiping and things like that. They have made it where the view controller now enables user interaction, which is going to be huge for dynamic quick actions, is the way that Smashing Magazine puts it. And if you're an app designer, if you do this and you do anything with iOS notifications, look at this. The way they're talking about that they can be different now in terms of remote versus local, and just a lot of things. And with the notification tester, it breaks it down really well. So even though it's not directly WordPress related, some of you I know are working in React Native and other kinds of mobile development. So if you haven't thought about taking your app into making it more dynamic with notifications, this is a good opportunity to read what's up. So there's that. Well, guys, I'm out of time. I'm a little bit over. That should be okay. But I, sorry. Oh, I see that Judy says, but be aware that my sob story may be meaningful. You begin to wonder how you can sell such a thing. It's true. That is true. I would never sell my wonderful Southern Fried Festival cup if my dog actually did take her last drink out of this. This would be like gilded and enshrined in a shadow box on my wall, and then put in a safe deposit box after a while. Like I'm that kind of guy. Y'all know I was completely lying if it was anything like that. But thank you guys for joining me. I don't think that the next 2 weeks we'll be doing this show. We are actually having our Elegant Themes retreat for the next from Friday to Friday. So those are going to be travel days for me, and I do not believe that I will be able to do a This Week in WordPress while I am flying. So I am really sorry about that, you guys. I really wish that I could invite you with me and do it, but you know, airplanes are airplanes, right? So I hope you guys have a fantastic September. I know I'll be back the last weekend of September. I'll be back after these next couple of weeks and doing exactly this. Remember that Mac has a live show at 6 a.m. Eastern on the Elegant Themes YouTube channel and Facebook Facebook page, and that the next one is going over the extend styles feature. He goes over the new features as they come out, and if you want to make sure that you get notifications for that, please hit the bell on YouTube to get notifications about that. And on on Facebook, I know you like the page, but if you want notifications for any time we go live with any of our streams, you can find that on the main page and subscribe to notifications for us, and you'll get a notification on your phone or desktop whenever any of us go live. That would be awesome. And so I will see you guys in a few weeks. And I see Goshen Web before I go, Divi 4.0 knocking. I do not doubt, Goshen, that we are going to discuss that. And I have no idea how far away that is, but when I come back, I will be able to tell you absolutely nothing. So, so keep ready. I will see you guys in a few weeks. Thank y'all for coming out. You're absolutely fantastic human beings, and I hope that your weekend goes spectacularly well. Bye, y'all.